Happy Saturn Day, but it's not, 'cause it's Sunday. It's the sun's day.
Oh, have you seen Jupiter and Saturn in the sky?
No,
Really?
no.
Okay, on your way home, look, it's like right
Let's go
out
right
there.
now.
I had to Google it, but I'm pretty positive that's what it is.
No, I saw that. Well, I didn't see it,
Right.
but I.
You can see it really good over by our house.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of space,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen all of the space stuff lately? All the alien stuff lately?
No.
Have you seen Creamer? Have you seen all the alien disclosure stuff lately?
I saw like Israel said something.
Yeah, Israel said something. This guy said something. I don't know. They said something. Pull it up.
What did they
Pull it
say?
up, Creamer.
The people want
Can we
to
make
know.
shirts that say Creamer? Pull it up.
It's
Yeah, no,
creamer
like
time.
so. There's like just a bunch of stuff that's been coming out lately
Mm-hmm.
about like aliens. You know, Trump knew about aliens, and Israel said that there was aliens, and the Pentagon said that there's aliens, and then you see like the monolith thing. Like, I don't know if anybody thinks that's aliens or if anybody.
The monolith? What's that?
The monolith. Yeah, it's all over Facebook and everything. All the memes of the
I
monolith.
guess I haven't been on Facebook that much lately.
That's good. Good.
Well,
Good
I really
for you.
haven't.
Oh.
Yikes.
Oh. Catastrophic
That was
failure.
that was the lizard people.
Catastrophic failure.
Oh yeah, I was. They're so busy.
Like,
Okay, look, Pentagon released UFO videos. Don't hold your breath for a breakthrough. I mean,
okay.
Okay, well, what is
New York
What's the
Times.
video? Oh, interesting. Wow, it's so clear. Just kidding.
It's a little dot crappy video.
What am I looking at? What
it?
is
Whoa, got a lot bigger. Oh, they're switching modes.
But okay, so then like on Joe Rogan's
Okay.
podcast, you had Commander Fravor on there talking about the Tic Tac UFO. They had Bob
that does
Lazar.
look like a tic tac. Just kidding. Is that what they're saying? It looks like a tic tac.
Not that, but
Okay.
the Commander Fravor one, and then like Bob Lazar's on there, and then like I don't know, I just seen a lot of like here
They're
comes the
trying
alien
to
stuff.
tell you something because I haven't seen anything about this stuff.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe.
Facebook's
Every time I see it,
trying
I'm
to
thinking
talk to
like, oh,
you.
they're just trying to like prep everybody psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what was the thing that they said recently? No, it wasn't this video. It was them saying that there was a galactic federation of planets. Google that, Galactic
What?
Federation of Planets. Yeah, Star Trek.
Okay.
It sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
Galactic Federation of Planets. So
Oh, it started popping up right as you started typing.
I don't know if it's
they
of planets.
knew.
Maybe it's just Galactic Federation. I don't remember exact. Galactic Federation of Light was what they called it in a different.
Actually, yeah, November 2020. Hold on.
Galactic Federation of Light.
It's a YouTube video. It's kind of.
Higher slave, which is spiritual government. What the heck?
I don't know, man. Look, whatever. The point is, they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing the alien stuff, man. This Project Bluebeam that we were talking about
Yeah.
before. I'm telling you, it's like all the time I see stuff every day.
Well, do you think that this like planet alignment thing has anything to do
Yeah,
with the
for
timing
sure.
of it?
100%. Yeah.
What do you think is the reason?
I don't know. But they always do these events, these ritual events, right? On days that there are alignments or that have like numerological relevance to their
Yeah.
black magic stuff. You know what I mean? There's always like a.
Are you at all scared for the day? What is it? The 21st of December that they're supposed to align.
The
to
winter
be like-
solstice, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the winter solstice. But
Is there
there's-
something to like fear in that day?
No.
Because of the alignment?
No. I don't
Okay.
think so. No.
Like some big crazy thing's gonna
No,
happen?
because in all the ancient texts and myths and blah, 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 it's always the great unveiling. You know what I mean? What are you pointing at? The divine.
The mother. what is with this thing? Okay, so have you ever heard of God the Mother?
Sure.
Sure, yes?
Yeah, I mean-
Okay. Well, like, I don't know if you're just
Well,
going
I don't
with
know
it.
like what
Okay.
you're.
So there's this whole like Christian, what's the denomination that believes in God the Mother.
Okay, yeah.
It's more
a
like a
cult.
cult, yeah.
Okay.
But they say they're Christians.
Right, okay, I got
so, but they believe in God the Mother, and yeah, it definitely is a cult if you read about it and watch YouTube videos on people who have been in it. World Mission Society Church of God. So they believe in God the Mother. That this woman, I believe, is Jesus reincarnated, right? I believe is what they think.
Zengilja.
Yeah. So
Zengilja.
it's weird because basically why it freaks me out is it also is like supposedly some people have branched off to turn it into like the sex trafficking ring part of the church. They claim the church head claims that they're not a part of it, but you know, whatever.
Sure.
So I actually got approached by a lady in Walmart and she stopped me and wanted to tell me about God the Mother.
You told us about this.
Yeah. So it's all this stuff in Revelation about like why would we have a father and a mother on earth, so why wouldn't we have a God the Father and God the Mother, and giving me all these scriptures that back up their beliefs and whatever. So anyways, that's the whole thing. It freaked me out because then I read it was like a sex trafficking thing and she was trying to like get me to come to this one-on-one Bible study. And I was like, heck to the no. And so I've been reading about it a little more just because I was like, what do these people even believe, And it's very strange stuff that the Bible doesn't actually back up. But anyways, just to lead into this article, that's what I've heard about God the Mother.
Interesting.
So what does that say? I can't read that far.
The Gaia is the Earth godmother,
Earth is Gaia, which is the mother.
and that's the reason why they're separating everybody in these pandemic things is to break our connection to each other.
Okay, well here's the thing. You guys all know the saying, Mother Earth, Father Time.
Yeah.
So what if this whole like dual gods thing, what if that is the case? What if the Earth is the mother god and like, remember Saturn is time? Why are you smirking, bro? Is that funny?
It's just weird, honestly.
I don't know, man. It is crazy. It's all weird. It's all crazy stuff, man. The space stuff is
Yeah, me
crazy to me now, But I'm still, the space is fake. I'm on that level right now. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, for me, like there's a spectrum of like where I fall in my beliefs in the conspiracy world, and it's always moving, right? And like,
Yeah.
a few months ago it was like the Earth is flat for sure, and then it was like, no, it's a sphere, but it's like this other model, and then I'm kind of just like in this spot now where I'm like, space just probably isn't what space is. You know what I mean? It's got to be something else.
So you think all the pictures they show us are fake? Or what?
All the pictures they show us is kind of
A drawing?
right.
Or like
well, like NASA, they take a picture with the satellite, for instance. It's not like they're just taking a picture and sending it to us. It's just a bunch of data.
Yeah.
And then they take this data, and then an artist draws up like, an image using this data. So the pictures that you see of like some HD shit in space, you know what I mean? Like that's not like they just sent some Canon up there and like took a picture. You know what I mean? It's just strips of data. I mean, I don't even know how to really process it in my own mind.
Well,
I
what do you
guess,
think
but-
about the people that, like, for example, with the two planets that are this close right now? I saw a picture online of someone with like a really, really good telescope that you can like see the rings and everything like that.
There could be things up there, and there could be a realm outside of this plane or sphere, whatever we're on. There could be a realm outside of that, right, where these other bodies exist, which you could just say is space. Sure, I just don't think that all of the things that have been told to us about space are like just the way that they all say that they are.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable considering there's so many other things that they say to us that are true that we know are not
It's just fishy
full
to me.
truths. You know, they're like half little truths
Right.
and things like that.
It's first of all, it's fishy to me that Nazis were part of NASA to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was an integral part of NASA was these Nazi scientists that they were bringing over, rocket scientists and all these other people. So that's already one red flag for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another red flag is like, where's the data from the moon landings? Where's the telemetry data? You know, those giant reels of data that they collected from going to the moon, they're gone. You know what I mean? Now, I can't personally verify that they're gone. Like, I haven't showed up there and been like,
Yeah.
bust them out. Let's see it. But from what I understand,
Oh, they said the videos that they recorded on
the original videos and all that stuff,
they recorded over them.
they recorded over them.
Oops.
We
Because
accidentally
they weren't
recorded
that
over 'em.
important.
Yeah, you know, so that's another red flag. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just too many red flags for me to just outright think like NASA's just giving us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. You know what I mean? Space is fake. So, you know, and then like the whole moon landing conspiracy, you know what I mean? Like, did we land on the moon? You know, all that stuff. I mean, there's just too much questions for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To just think that it's all the way that they say it is.
I have
But-
to be honest, I really haven't thought about it that much because I'm the kind of person that I'm like, okay, if it's not real or whatever they say it is, does it really affect my life that much?
Yes. You want to know
You
why?
think it does?
You want to know why?
Why?
Here's the thing. If space is fake,
Okay.
or let's go to the extreme. If the earth is flat,
Mm-hmm.
or it's not what we think it is, we're not just like a speck of dust flying through space and it just so happens that we're here. If it's somehow a special place that was created for us, that proves that there is some form of a God.
Yeah.
So that is incredibly important, right?
Yeah.
How important is that if like that was the scientific fact? Like, yo, we live in like a test tube. Like that's just the facts. We live in a test tube, right? Like think of what that would mean to like society on like a subconscious level. Like
Yeah.
there's a whole different structure of like how our minds would work because of this. Whereas now everything is just kind of like faith based and like maybe we're a speck of dust, maybe we're an important place. Nobody can really put their finger on it and say for sure. You know what I mean?
I guess. I mean, I think for me personally, it doesn't make a difference because like I believe what I believe off of faith and that's like enough for me.
Sure.
So like space being real or not, it doesn't really change my view. I find it interesting, but yeah, I've never like wondered like, is this real?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. Like if it's not going to affect you going to get milk every day or like raising your kids.
Yeah,
You know, it's like,
right.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, like on a day to day.
But as a society, it would affect
Yeah.
the evolution of our society. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to keep us all in like the slave state where we're all just working 9 to 5 to make tax money for them to just keep doing the bullshit they're doing. Good way to do it is to just set up a lot of systems. One of them being like this idea that we're nothing, that we're just like floating out in space and we've never contacted anyone. You know, we're just along for the ride. Hopefully we don't get hit by a giant rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think he's looking up the God, the Mother, sex trafficking stuff.
yeah.
It's just really weird. I've been looking at like anybody that claims that there's sex trafficking, they go and report it, and a news agency will come out and say that there's no evidence of that.
Yeah.
There's like thousands and thousands and thousands.
They do that like with Scientology too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like they got the money, you know, to pay people to say what they want to say.
They'll just hire journalists to go and bash and say, "Oh, this guy's a
Sounds
psychopath."
a form of Scientology.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Like, you have to live at the church, basically.
It's a cult. I'll start a cult.
Yeah, because it's
I
a
would start a
cult.
cult. You know what I mean? Like for sure. I'm about it. If anybody wants to start a cult with me, hit me up. You know what I mean?
And on that note,
Let's
this
go.
podcast is over. We do not support cults on this side of the room.
Why not have a good cult, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have a good cult. It could be a good cult.
Well, I guess If you call it a cult, nobody's
As
gonna
long as
believe
okay,
it's
look,
good,
as long
that's
as
for
nobody's
sure.
trafficking kids, drinking the Kool-Aid, or getting in shootouts with the ATF, it's a good cult,
Okay.
right?
I guess, yeah.
So
It is kind of crazy because that was really freaky to me because I totally felt like this lady is going to try and kidnap me right now. Like, I really felt like that. So then when I found out that it kind of is a thing, it was like crazy. And then I was like, reflecting, like, what about me made this lady feel like I'm going to stop her, Do I look like someone that's just like off in La La Land? Or like I'm short, so they're like, yeah, she'd be easy to grab. Like,
Maybe,
it's
who
kind of
knows?
weird when you think about that kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, even if it is some sex trafficking cult, that doesn't mean that everybody who's a part of it is necessarily aware.
Right.
This could have just been some chick that's like, oh, come, like she might be.
she could have been legit. Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean.
yeah,
But I
it's
see what
like
you're saying. It's kind of
one-on-one
sketchy.
Bible study. Like,
Kind of sketchy.
oh,
I
thank
feel like this
you.
is a little low for my.
Okay, so what's
There we go.
Did we say what we were going to talk about this episode?
No, so people know because we skipped last week.
Yeah.
We skipped last week. No, we didn't. We
We-
recorded one, and
Yeah.
then there was an issue.
What
that
did we do? It's all a blur.
What happened was there was the van that parked out front the week prior to that, and I'm pretty sure that they like did something. They sabotaged the equipment. So the next week when we
Yeah.
filmed the episode, all the audio was just
Messed up.
shit. So
Did you notice anything weird outside today when you came?
no, and I looked.
You did?
Oh yeah,
Maybe they thought we were done because we skipped a week. So maybe they're
Maybe.
like, all right, they're done
yeah.
with this.
They forgot about us.
Our plan worked. We screwed up one episode and they gave up.
So no, we didn't really plan this one either. We didn't have a plan. So
Yeah, I mean, what we talked about on the episode that got messed up was conspiracy facts. So conspiracy theories that have been proven true and like legitimate based off of facts.
right. So one of them, because the one that's most important, I think, right now to me is the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, just because of the COVID and everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
Like pull that up, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, because people need to understand that this was like a government sanctioned thing that they did. Like
Right. It's not that long ago.
yeah,
At all.
like there was a bunch of schmucks, lizard people who sat around the freaking desk and they all signed off to do the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
It's crazy.
Is there like a quick summary so I can read it so I don't sound like a total schmuck? Tuskegee syphilis study, also known as the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, was a clinical study conducted between 1932 and 1972, so 40 years, by the United States Public Health Service and the CDC. The purpose of this study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. The African American men in the study were told they were receiving free health care from the federal government of the United States, which they weren't. They weren't.
Wait, so even though I knew this, I just realized when you read that again that they didn't know they were in a trial at all for anything. They just thought they were getting free health care.
No, so some of them knew that they were in a trial and they thought that they were being given health care, and they were not. They were
Like,
given
they were giving-
placebos.
Treatment, they knew they had syphilis.
Some of the cases.
Some of them. Okay.
Some of the other cases, they didn't even know they had syphilis, and they were still being studied for the natural progression of syphilis. So, again, in case you missed that, the CDC literally, what does it say?
Says the men were initially told that the study was only going to last 6 months, but it was extended to 40 years. After funding for treatment was lost, the study was continued without informing the men that they would never be treated. None of the infected men were treated with penicillin, despite the fact that by 1947, the antibiotic was widely available and had become the standard treatment for syphilis. So for 40 years, they let them have syphilis
Just read the next one.
untreated.
This is why it stopped. This is the only reason.
The study continued under numerous public health service supervisors until 1972, when a leak to the press resulted in its termination.
Oh, so they just got caught.
So they got caught after 40 years of allowing people to have syphilis, not telling
just people, but African American
yeah,
men.
specifically African American men. So they took black
It's like,
men and
why?
they were like, "You have
Because
syphilis."
they didn't care about them as much. So
In
they're like, you can
1932
have syphilis for 40 years.
In 1932, when they started that program, absolutely,
Yeah.
they didn't care about black people that much. So of course they did this kind of program,
On
and it
that.
went on until the 70s because they got caught. If they never got caught, they'd probably still be doing
It's
it.
insane.
You know what I'm saying? So the government was willing to just let people suffer. They didn't formally apologize until 97. So, dude, that's insane to me. So
Yeah,
all
it really
these people
is.
running around all day long that are like, "Oh, the CDC says you need to wear a mask because you're spreading the Rona." Okay, the CDC says that, huh? What else does the CDC say?
Yeah.
They also say it's okay to do this shit. So
Yeah, and I'm sure people will argue, well, that was so long ago, and they would never do that now. But it's like, how can you really believe that? Like, I wouldn't think they would ever do something like that.
right,
How could anybody do that?
absolutely.
But
Well,
are
here's the
messed
thing,
up.
right? Okay, let's say maybe the government, the federal government, maybe they slipped up. Okay, maybe they did this terrible, horrific thing, this crime against humanity for 40 years. But maybe,
insane.
let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. It was a mistake.
Yeah,
What about MK Ultra?
right.
What about the people that you literally snatched up off the streets and you dosed up with LSD to try to learn how to control people's minds? Because that's real too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Is there anything that we know about, like, factually going on right now that is similar to this? Like, I know we can say, like, COVID's probably one of these
like a
types of
terrible
yeah,
thing.
but some kind of, like, you
Right
know,
now.
trial thing that they're doing.
On U.S. citizens,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any.
Maybe fluoride.
Oh yeah, fluoride.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
good one.
that's
Yeah,
something
fluoride
else
is a
we
good
talked
one
about.
for sure. Yeah, because they were putting fluoride in the drinking water in the Nazi concentration camps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted to make the prisoners as docile as possible, so they were just pumping fluoride into the water. And they
Which we still have in our
they
water.
still got it. And people say, "Oh, it's good for your teeth."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They thought that back in like like the 30s or something when they were like fluoride's good for your teeth if you drink it. Well, guess what else they were doing in the 30s? They were doing the syphilis experiments in the 30s. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they didn't. I'm not. This is all ridiculous. Like I'm gonna go on a rampage because
Yeah.
Pisses
So
me off.
what was the stuff that we found out about fluoride last time on
it
the
calcifies
episode
your
that got
pineal
messed up?
gland.
Okay. So the pineal gland is what?
Pineal gland is the third eye. It's the gland and like where your third eye would be in the center of your skull, I guess, like behind your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, it's responsible for pumping out different hormones that, cause you to have dreams and or like when you have like a near death experience or when you die, you have like these hallucinations and dimethyltryptamine gets released, DMT.
Interesting.
I'm sure
What
there's other
was-
things that
yeah,
it does too.
what
I don't know.
Is it on there what you're looking at? What the pineal gland does, like the function of it?
No, he's looking at the side effects of fluoride. But yeah, they're putting fluoride in the drinking water right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Because when we go to the pediatrician, they give you like a little questionnaire for each checkup, like every 6 months or a year or whatever, and they ask you specifically, does your child drink drinking water that has fluoride in it? As like they want you to be giving them water that has fluoride in it. And it's something they specifically check
Here's the
that
problem,
you're doing or
right?
not doing.
So people will say like, oh, the doctors and stuff, like they will suggest that you drink the fluoride, like it's good for you. And it's like, okay, well, here's the thing about your doctor suggesting these kind of things to you. If your doctor steps out of line, so if I forget what the organization is called, but there's like a head organization, a board of individuals,
Yeah.
right, that do all of the medical stuff, like the medical field. Like they're
Right.
the ones that say like this is the shit that you should be doing. The standards. Thank you. If you step out of line, you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your career as a doctor is done.
Right.
So 99% of these doctors who are willing to just be like, yeah, you should totally take the Zantac or to drink the fluoride water or do, like they're just trying not to step out of line, whether they know it or not. Because a lot of these people aren't even woke either. Like they're just,
Yeah.
they're told from the higher ups in their medical fields, like, hey, this is the new thing that's really helping people out. And they're like, oh, okay, great. Thank you. I'll start using this with my patients.
Right.
For
sure.
So, and then here's another one that they're doing on American people right now, and probably all over the world for sure. Chemtrails. They're doing it right now. Chemtrails. People still question me on chemtrails. They're like, chemtrails, like chemtrails are real, dude. Stratospheric aerosol injections. Stratospheric aerosol injections. What is that?
Yeah.
That is a chemtrail. That is a freaking can of hairspray coming out the back of a plane. Stratospheric aerosol
Yeah.
injections.
So I didn't know what chemtrails were. So it's like when the planes are flying and you see this like cloud of white smoke or whatever you want to call it that comes out and stays in the sky, from the trail of a plane, which I just assumed was like
A contrail.
smoke or
So there's
Yeah,
a
I don't know,
natural
some normal
occurring
thing.
there's a natural occurring contrail, which is, I believe, if the conditions are right, there's like moisture and different pressures and humidity levels and all these different things are building up on the wings, so it leaves a brief trail behind the plane. Now a natural contrail, if you're looking up in the sky, will only be an inch or two long, past the plane. You know what I mean? They're really short and they dissipate very quickly. You'll see it tracking with the plane and not much more behind it. The chemtrails are the ones that you see that linger in the sky for 2 hours. You know what I mean? And like, there's no plane there anymore. The plane's long gone. You see the whole line of smoke or whatever it is there.
It's just kind of crazy because, like, well, for one, you see that all the time. But even like around here, like over by Disney, which now that I'm thinking about is like really crazy because people coming to Disney, so many tourists. So it's like people from like all around the world, not just United States citizens. It's like, everywhere. But you see all the time, like these planes that are in the sky over there writing stuff in the sky. And it's like, what if those people are writing like, oh, be happy, Jesus loves you, like all these nice things, but they're really like dropping these chemtrails all over,
Could
tourist
be.
areas.
I don't think those people are, because there is like stuff that you can do that with.
There is?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The people who write.
Stay?
Yeah, there's people.
Okay.
That's a thing.
Because I was like, well,
that's a thing for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everything that is sprayed out of a plane that stays in the sky is a chemtrail.
Okay.
Right. Like, I'm just saying, like, if
But
you're
it
looking,
could be.
if you're looking for a chemtrail, there's a difference between a contrail, that short trail, and the chemtrails, which stay forever.
And they're white though. They're not like a different.
Yeah,
color.
the ones that that they write with, I don't know what that is, but that's a legal thing. Like, they're, of course, that's being regulated to some extent. And they're like, what are you spraying? You're like, that's not part of the chemtrails.
Well, it could be.
I mean, it could be.
Well, nobody would question a nice little thing
be.
in the sky
Anything
that
could
says
be.
something so positive.
But the thing is they'll tell you it's, to curb climate change, solar radiation management programs, where they're trying to like reflect the solar radiation with these nanoparticles of aluminum and barium and whatever else, so. But that, I mean, yeah, those are experiments because they don't know the long-term effects.
Right.
What's going to happen in 100 years to the human race if they keep spraying aluminum and barium in the atmosphere? And people are like, oh, it dissipates so much by the time it comes down to the ground. And it's like, maybe. But how much is too much? How long is too long? And how much are they really spraying? You know what I mean?
Right. So they say that they're spraying, but they just say it's something different than
they say the
is,
reason
or
is different.
the reason.
Just like anything else. We went to Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah. So they don't deny that they're spraying things in
right.
the air.
The programs exist. Stratospheric aerosol injection programs and solar radiation management programs exist. They are real. You know? 100%. What is this? David Keith, based at Harvard, is the foremost engineer advancing SPM. Is that SPM or SRM? SRM, excuse me. He is solar radiation management. Okay. He is the investor in the technology and has lobbied governments and manages alongside Ken Caldeira, a multi-million, I can't read that small, multi-million geoengineering fund funded by Bill Gates. Okay. Wow, that was the hardest thing for me to
Who
read.
is also funding
I am
the
retarded. SAI's stratospheric aerosol injections using sulfates is the most studied option. This technique would likely cause droughts in Africa and Asia and endanger the source of food and water for 2 billion people. Because of the unequal global impacts and its potential to be weaponized, solar radiation management carries unsurmountable challenges for governance and should be banned.
Jeez.
But Bill Gates is
Who
funding
also
it.
wants to like depopulate, right?
Bill Gates he has mentioned, okay, so there's nothing that Bill Gates has said that's like, I want to depopulate the world.
Well, not in those words, but I have seen a speech where
There
he
has been-
basically says it in a nicer way.
In a very nice way, he'll say, there's too many people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he has all the, here's the thing, okay? Let's go back to the COVID for a second. Vaccines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think they test these vaccines?
Africa.
Africa. They do mandatory vaccinations in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody here in the United States who's living comfortably is like, it's safe, just remember that some little kid in Africa got jacked up to find out that it was safe.
Yeah, I've already seen stuff about people having like Bell's palsy
Mhm.
that were in the trials. And I'm like, yeah,
It's
no
like
thanks.
anything, man. Here's the thing. If there is a vaccine and you want to take the vaccine, go ahead.
Right.
If you're going to come at me and tell me it's mandatory,
Yeah.
good luck. Because if you give everybody in the world peanut butter, you're going to kill like 12 million people. Okay?
Mhm.
You give everybody in the world vaccine, you're probably going to kill more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
You sound like Trump right now.
you're going to kill, it's going to be
Your
huge.
hands.
It's going to be huge.
Like
You're
gonna
going to kill
12 million
millions
people.
of people.
I'm sorry. I
Dr.
couldn't help
Fauci, I just see Fauci's name on the screen. Dr. Fauci disgusts me. Look up Fauci with HIV.
it. What?
Yeah, Fauci.
With
he doesn't
HIV?
have HIV,
Oh, I
but
was like,
well, he
okay,
might. I don't know.
what?
He probably does all the kids that he
Yeah.
fucks. But you know, Fauci was involved with holding back treatments for HIV for a long time. So there was a long time where they were able to treat people, you know, and they just didn't do it. They didn't give a shit. They were like, "Fuck you guys," you know what I mean? So screw Fauci. Dr. Fauci said, and the CDC says.
He's crazy. So crazy.
This guy's a scumbag. They're all scumbags, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting more and more angry. See, like, lately, the corona thing has just been making me mad.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
I'm getting really mad about
This
it.
whole time, for like this whole year, I've been okay with it. Like, I'll rage on it. I'll like, question things or whatever. But in the last like week or two, I've just been getting like pissed off. And it started with that
Yeah.
Wendy's that wouldn't take my cash.
Well, for me, it's like the holiday stuff. It's like, come on, like we can't even freaking get together with our families and like the one time a year where you're supposed to be, not supposed to, but usually are a lot happier and there's something to look forward to. And it's like, they're just sucking all the fun and life out of everything. And I'm
Yep.
like so over it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Just making me mad at this point. I'm just like, let the nukes fly. You know what I mean? What are you reading there? What are you grossed out about? Highlight it for me so I can read, please. Please and thank
So
you.
bossy.
Please. I said please and thank you.
Highlight it, please.
The
I
collaboration
can't see
follows the January 2010 call by Bill and Melinda Gates for the next 10 years to be the decade of vaccines.
Wow. Well, what is that?
So the next 10 years will be the decade of vaccines.
In 2010?
Yeah. They were talking about this
Okay,
10
so
years ago.
what
The global
vaccines are they talking about within the 10 years? So they're like hitting the end of it, you know?
Snap. Organizations like the WHO, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have announced a collaboration to increase coordination across the international vaccine community to create
Oh,
a
sounds
global
really familiar.
vaccine action plan.
That sounds quite familiar.
Hmm.
Like maybe you might need a global pandemic to get everybody on board with
Oh,
the same
yeah.
vaccine.
Because in 2015, they said we're overdue for another global pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the same year that the COVID test kit patent was filed by
Created.
Rothschild.
Fauci's on the Who.
Fauci's on the Who. Fauci's on the Who. This is like a game. When you get into this
We're
stuff,
playing Clue right
it's
now.
like playing Clue. It's like,
It's Dr. Fauci.
Fauci with the candlestick in the den.
oh man,
Wow.
That's,
really crazy. What
This
website
the
is this?
director- This is on the
like-
GatesFoundation.org.
GatesFoundation.org. So this is
Wow.
not like somebody wrote an article saying
Yeah.
on the Gates Foundation. They're calling it like the global vaccine, whatever.
Vaccines are miracles.
The next 10 years are going to be the decade of vaccines.
That's bizarre. Decade of vaccines. Like what? Why? What vaccines were needed that they needed to make a decade of vaccines? The decade of vaccines.
People ask me when I talk about vaccines, they're like, what about polio? What about you don't think vaccine? What about the polio vaccine? What about it? And I'm like, yeah, well, people in Sudan are getting polio right now from an oral polio vaccine. The vaccine is giving them polio. So, I mean, did the polio vaccines work? I don't know. I never had polio. I didn't know anybody who had it, and I didn't know anybody who had it and they got vaccine. Like, so I can't speak to the polio vaccine. I just know that there's people getting sick right
You've
now.
had it, right?
I'm sure.
Most likely.
I don't know. I'm in America, right? They give it to you when you're a baby. Is that one of those baby shots?
Probably.
You would know. You got babies.
I don't remember, honestly.
They just hit them with stuff. They're like, bam, bam, bam.
So there's certain ones that I make them wait for. I'm not like an anti-vaxxer.
Sure.
I'm starting to become one, sort of.
There's a difference
But-
between anti-vaxxer and pro-safe vaccine.
Questioning, yeah. Because I think they're changing the vaccines a lot, where they're different now from when we were kids. And I don't think it's necessarily for the good. So that's where I'm kind of like...
Sure.
And I think that there's some people that are more sensitive to the things that they've changed in them. And yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I've been looking into. But
Don't trust that guy. His name's Lucky Slam.
If your name is Dr.
Lucky
Lucky
Slammer?
Slamit.
slam it.
Lucky Slamit is the
Wow.
Deputy for Therapeutic Products, Narcotic Psychiatry, whatever. Lucky Slamit.
Don't trust that guy.
Don't trust him just because your name. That's
Oh my
funny.
gosh. That is so weird. What else does it say though?
It's just talking about their
Vaccine stakeholder groups.
the Decade of Vaccines. The Decade of Vaccines collaboration expects to complete its work by mid-2012. At that time, all vaccine stakeholder groups will be responsible for implementing the action plan. Agenda 21?
When was that
Yeah.
patent put out for that?
2015?
Yeah.
15, so just 3 years after this.
2015.
It's within
yeah.
the decade of vaccines, all
Yeah.
of it.
So yeah, I posted that thing. I want to talk about that. I posted that little meme, right? It was like, oh, the vaccine test kit was patented in 2015 by Rothschild, but it's dated 2020, right? And a lot of people were like, oh, well, that's like half bullshit, or like, oh, like the virus isn't fake, or like, oh, and it's like none of that really matters. What matters is, why does Rothschild hold the patent? Who cares when the patent was filed? The patent could have been filed yesterday, for all I care. I just want to know why Rothschild is the one who owns the patent. Because if you look at who Rothschild is, and you look at the Rothschild name and all the things that they've funded and all the wars that they've started in history and all of the royals that have been assassinated because the Rothschilds are trying to make, there's changes in the world. Why do they own anything that has to do with anything about COVID? Test kits,
Yeah, and in
whatever.
2015 too. 'Cause-
On top of that, the date thing is weird. Don't get me wrong.
Like, why would they have it 5
But
years ago?
even still, just the fact that this dude is the owner of the patent.
Rothschild
you know.
gang. Shadow conspiracy. What does shadow conspiracy mean?
I don't know. They just like to spice up conspiracy theorists.
Something special.
Shadow conspiracy.
Wow, dude, they're explaining in this. This is Business Insider how the
Mhm.
Rothschild funded both sides
Yeah.
of
French
the French Revolution.
French Revolution. Yeah. Rothschilds funded both sides of the French Revolution. Again, they're the
Back
in the 1830s. In the 1830s, the Rothschilds were funding both sides of the French Revolution because they want mayhem. They want chaos, order out of chaos. That's like you know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing, you know? So why?
Is this one of the bloodlines that you were talking
Yeah,
about?
the Rothschilds. Yeah, for sure.
Been in power since 1832.
Before their name was Rothschilds, their name was something else. They've been in power a lot longer than that. These people have been an elite family bloodline for thousands of years under multiple different names that they've changed. And they're always married into royal families. Like, I'm just going to spit this out. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but like the Princess of Norway would be like married to a Rothschild or like, you get what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
just marry into royals.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the Rothschilds, man. Why you owning Rona stuff? Why you got your name on the Rona? You know what I mean?
Dun dun dun.
So,
Yeah, that's really crazy.
yeah. And there's like a conspiracy that I want to get into one day. I have to really dig into it because I don't know a lot about it. It's called Tartaria. And Tartaria was like an empire, a huge empire, global empire that existed and apparently was wiped out in some epic war. And after this epic war, right, they changed all the history of humanity, all the books and all the knowledge, and they started wiping out all the ancient shit, and they just completely changed the history to be what it is now. And
So that theory is like everything is a lie.
like everything's a lie up
Basically.
until like 1850. Like this is apparently when this happened, like in the 1800s or something.
Interesting.
The Rothschild family is a wealthy Jewish family originally from Frankfurt that rose to prominence. I hate how they do
Mayor
this sometimes to media
Amschel.
effects.
Show Rothschild. He was born in
1740s. So yeah, in the 1700s, established his banking business in the 1760s. International banking family. The Rothschilds are the international banking families. The puppets, man. The Wizard of Oz. The Rothschilds. So here's the thing. I think there's 13 families.
Okay.
I don't know if it's 13 or 12. There's like 13 families. Can you Google this to verify this? Like, I think it's the 13 families that run the world. You know what I mean? It's the bloodlines.
Yeah.
Who runs the world?
Who runs the world?
The YouTube video. We don't want your YouTube video. We're making our own.
Yeah.
The 13
Does this say
satanic
Amazon?
bloodlines.
Ew, what? Ew, what the heck?
I don't know, but there's this whole thing about these bloodlines and these 13 families. And I'm pretty sure the Rothschild family name, or at least the family name before they changed it to Rothschild,
Yeah.
is one of the.
There's a movie.
Baccarat. So Baccarat is the name.
Baccarat.
The name before Rothschild was Baccarat. It's crazy. It's crazy to
That is
think
pretty crazy.
that this family and other families have been just pulling little strings throughout society around the world since hundreds of years ago to make wars happen and make the international banking happen and just blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It is very crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it does make you wonder, like, I don't know. Because you can have a family that, like, say we did something great and we made a ton of money and became like a rich family. And we carried that on to our kids. But it's like somebody usually can mess that up down the line, and then you're back to just nothing.
So
So
here's-
how does a family over that many years continue to be
Right.
like
I think trauma.
that?
I think trauma-based mind control is how.
Okay.
Right? So, like you have a kid, and if you raise them, you could raise a child to be anything, really. I mean, it's a small human that you mold into a big human,
Right.
right? So I think that, trauma-based mind control is a thing. I mean, all these people who are connected at the high levels, they're always traumatized to some level.
Yeah.
They were being raped by somebody or whatever the case may be. There's always
Yeah,
that.
that's what I mean. It's like there's got to be something more to it
Mm-hmm.
where they can, for that many years, maintain that status and that money and that power,
Without somebody
without somebody
messing it up.
screwing it up
But
down
it
the
could,
road.
I think it's a mix between ideology. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
just like any other ideology, like people will follow the same religion through every generation of their family because it's like a powerful ideology, right?
Yeah.
So I think part of it is the ideology, perhaps the Saturn stuff.
Yeah.
Part of it is trauma-based mind control. They just
Mm-hmm.
breed these kids and they just beat the shit out of these kids, whatever they got to do to make them fall in line, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And the other part of it is, I think, is the money and the power. I mean, if you're born into the Rothschild family name, you know what I mean, and you grow up to realize like what that really means, you're probably not going to go fucking around. You're going to toe the line because you
Yeah.
want to be part of the control system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's just kind of crazy to think
Yeah.
about.
the Bundy bloodline, like Ted Bundy, could be. The DuPont bloodline, Astor bloodline, the
these, like, in
Collins
alphabetical
bloodline.
order?
These are the 13 families: the Freeman bloodline, the Kennedy bloodline, the Lee bloodline, the Onassis, the Rockefeller, the Russell, the Van Dunn, Venetian, and the Rothschilds. Those are the trillionaire families that essentially. Actually, I don't even think trillionaire is accurate. The amount of wealth that these families have is beyond the amount of money that exists. Because remember, anytime they print money, there's more debt than there is money, right? And these are the people who run all of the international banking. So the debt that's being accrued is debt that we owe them. So these families are the people that own everything. They own the countries, the world.
Yeah.
This is from David Rockefeller's own memoir.
David Rockefeller. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it.
Okay,
David
then.
Rockefeller.
Well, in case anybody had any questions.
So David Rockefeller just told you that the new world, the one world order, is
Yeah.
for real, and they're looking for it.
Wow.
What does that say? Wait, skirt. What does the last couple lines of that paragraph say? It's also said that these families hold the cure for terminal diseases like cancer and AIDS, but don't want to release the public because then there will be a cure, and the cure is not good for pharma businesses. Well, we already knew that.
Yeah, we already knew that. We
Yeah.
already proved that.
We already knew that.
It's so funny that they actually, you never hear about them dying from anything terminal like that.
Yep.
They're oldest.
It's because they're also the ones funding eugenics, so they have clones with new organs.
Pretty crazy stuff.
George Soros is like 90-something years old, isn't
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy. And then guess who developed the Common Core school system?
Oh, who?
Rockefeller.
You're lying.
Look it up.
What the
Look up
heck?
Rockefeller school
That
system or
crap is
something
so
like that.
stupid.
Just look it up. Just look it up, people.
Like, what's even the point?
Google it. Use the almighty Google, who is not doing a very good job at, censoring info because we find all this shit on Google.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Maybe they want us to.
Common Core. Did you see it down? I saw it.
You think the point of Common Core is to make it so confusing that people are just so dumb?
It's Common Core education. The school system is designed to make you a slave, a factory worker. It's to dumb you down. It's not to help you learn anything. It's to help you regurgitate. It's to help you absorb info and spit it back out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the grant for the Rockefeller.
Which this is also on the Bill and Melinda Gates website. Oh my gosh.
They funded it. That's a grant from them for $2.5
So on the Bill and
What
Melinda
in
Gates
the world?
Foundation website, there's a Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors Inc. donates $2.5 million to support Common Core shit, K through 12 education.
That's
So this
like,
guy,
oh, how did we end up on this website
so
again?
these
What?
Rockefellers who want the one world order, who he just admitted, he admitted himself that he's about it. They're the ones that are behind the whole education system.
Mm-hmm.
Also to Hewlett.
They're behind education. They're behind big pharma. They're behind international banking.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? These people, man. Yeah, that's the thing. Follow the money. If you want to you want to connect dots,
Mm-hmm.
follow the money. Who's giving who money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Figure out who's giving who's money. And that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump got elected. Okay. Was because whether or not he took money or not from people or corporations for his campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
he talked about the problem with lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's enough for millions of people to be like, he's the guy. He knows that there's a problem with lobbying and all these other things, right? Whether or not he was or not, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not on his team, but like, that's why he got elected, you know?
Big supporter of Jeb Bush.
Big supporter of Jeb Bush. Yeah, the Bush family, the Bush crime syndicate, you know, the Bushes and the Clintons, they're all the same.
What does your mom think about that whole Bush thing? Because like our family was like so
My mom still loves George Bush.
fans.
But every
Like
time
you
she-
guys had a dog named after Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she loves it.
just curious what her thoughts are on your
She still loves
beliefs
it.
now.
When I call her out, like
Consult the Common Core flowchart.
the Common
Oh
Core.
my! Oh my gosh! Is this real?
Oh,
What?
shit.
This is. Oh my!
This is public school flowcharts.
What is that one at the
What am
bottom
I
left?
even
The
looking at?
CFR? What's connected directly to the CFR?
Sponsored task force. That's Colin Powell,
Jeez.
Lou Gerstner. The U.S. Department of Defense is involved in this? Condoleezza Rice? What? Supports
Everybody who's in charge of something important
national curriculum. They're just getting support
in the
from
government
from
or whatever. Yeah, these people, they're the 13 families.
Gerstner's also working here as the co-founder of Achieve.
No.
Actually, this is a pretty good flowchart.
It's really confusing to look at from afar.
Also, the former director at McKinsey. Whoa, dude, this guy's got his hands in this thing.
Yeah,
We gotta
They
look
all
up
do.
Gerstner now.
they all do. That's another
I'll link
thing.
this in the. I'll link this.
Yeah, link that in there.
We can do some digging.
Here's-
That'll be our. We'll get our homework.
Yeah, homework.
Study this flow chart.
Here's another fun one. I did this a couple years ago and it blew my mind too. I went on, I was looking at the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR, and I was looking at members of the CFR. And you could do the same thing. You can connect like, who is this guy and what does he do? And you'll be like, oh, he's the CEO of like all these major corporations. And then you go to the next guy on the list. What is he in part of? Oh, he's the international banking guy, like
Yep.
Bill Gates.
There he is, a board member employed by Gates in Bill Wireless Generation, straight to the CCSSO.
Involved with Common Core. Yeah, Bill Gates,
One
Rockefeller, Common Core education, eugenics, Big Pharma,
I did not know.
and these same people are the people who are also funding and involved with quantum computing and AI. Right? So why are you doing these things and you're also doing quantum computing and AI? Like that's what sketches me out about the data. Right? They're collecting
Yeah.
all of our data. Now people are like, there's not enough people in the world to look through all the data. You're right. But you
Is
run.
that how they say it?
Yeah, they say it just verbatim. You run all the data through a quantum computing AI system, supercomputer. It'll in like 30 seconds flat. Boom. Every single person on the planet has just been categorized from a level of 1 to 10. Where you at, bro?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Craig.
Did you get
See.
your vaccine? No? You didn't get your vaccine? You know how we know? Because our quantum computing AI systems and our facial recognition systems told us you didn't get the vaccine, so you can't buy bread.
We need to start making like a big compound for our whole family
Yeah.
with a big farm.
Yep. I would like to start a compound.
Cold.
Start a cult.
Well, why don't we just
Cold
call it
pound.
a compound instead?
Cold.
Call it the cult pound. Yeah, man. I don't know. What other ones were real that we talked about last week?
Because it wasn't last week, so that's why
2
I think
weeks
it's hard
ago.
to remember. It's hard enough to remember what I did yesterday.
I don't know. There's a lot of real conspiracies. Oh. Northwoods. Operation Northwoods. They were going to blame the Cubans.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So the U.S. government was going to do terrorist attacks on its own people, on us. They were going to shoot people up, blow up planes, sink boats. They were going to...
And this was something that you can find, like,
This is a fact.
the proof of, yeah.
This is a fact. They had plans. They didn't do these things, but this was drawn up, and this was plans signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff that they were going to blame Cuba for all of these terrorist attacks
Right.
that were going to take place. And they were going to use that as a reason to go and invade Cuba, right?
Yeah.
They were going to blow up, or if the space shuttle blew up, taking the first dude to space. If that happened, something went wrong, blew up, they were just going to blame Cuba.
Right.
Cuba had something to do with this. You know what I mean? And they were just going to go in there and wreck Cuba. There was, back in the 50s and the 60s, there was, Cuban like ghettos, like in Miami, in South Florida especially, right? Like my grandfather lived in one of those, I think. So they were literally going to use those people and frame those people for the terrorist activities.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So then knowing that, then it opens up the door to like other things in history that have happened, like say 9/11, which we know is a big conspiracy theory, but it's like, okay, if you know that our government has put it out there that they would do these things, then it isn't so far-fetched to think that they have actually done them in other scenarios.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting stuff.
If you take the fact that they drew up the Northwoods documents
Yeah.
to blame Cuba,
Right.
and they actually let black men suffer with syphilis,
Right.
they would probably let 9/11 happen or
Couldn't
do
put
it.
it past them.
Right.
You know?
Yep. 100%. So,
We're both tap, 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 tap.
tapping the coffee. It's that
Tapping,
Wawa coffee. I got the Wawa coffee. It's
I actually really like their coffee.
this one was the mocha wake up with extra caffeine.
Oh, like you got it out of the machine?
Yeah, at the machine.
Yeah.
It was watered down. I think it was empty, but
Their regular coffee is actually really
I'm
good.
still going.
Don't know
I'm
why
ready.
I like
I'm
it
ready.
so much.
I'm ready.
Get hyped. So we're doing like an episode. Next episode is not going to be with me. It's going to be with my husband, Charlie. And you guys are going to talk about...
I don't know. We haven't really decided on that.
Oh, okay. Then
We're
I
gonna
won't
do what we
say.
just did.
We gotta get that out of somewhere.
Yeah, so... Yeah, we'll link this flowchart thing here, which, I mean, from far away looking at it, it looks crazy. Like, what am I even looking at? But yeah, let us know if you guys decide to like dig into this flowchart and follow all the little paths and see where you end up and
Yeah,
what
follow it.
information
I'm gonna
you
do
find.
it when I get some time. I'm gonna look through this chart,
Yeah, drop nuggets on our Facebook.
and I'm gonna find who's part of who and what, and who's getting the money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's really interesting. So,
Are we at an hour? Are we
I don't
good?
know. Feels
I can't
like it.
see. Well, that was fun. Time for another hour.